Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ben Moskalensky, and welcome to the Ben Moskalensky Show. Due to the fact that we skipped our last show due to personal events in my life, we will be having a 2-hour special this time. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Throughout the show, we're going to be having some very interesting topics. But right now, we're going to start off with a very not simple one, and that would be the fact that Trump's wall, President Donald Trump's wall, has in fact gotten funding. Now, I'm about to give a little bit of backstory to those of you who don't know, so if you do know, just, skip a couple of minutes or call in, fact check me, because YouTube comments love to do just that. Now, to begin. President Donald Trump, one of the main talking points of his campaign was to build a wall between the U.S. And Mexico, due to the fact that Mexico had and has a lot of illegal immigrants coming in. So a main talking point of his campaign was to build a high wall, so the illegal immigrants would not be able to come in. You need to get past the wall in order to participate. Or, I'm sorry, in order to participate. In order to get into the country, you need to have all the legal documents so people would let you through. And he was planning on doing it throughout the entirety of the border between the southern states and Mexico. And recently, the wall has gotten funding, and people had several large problems with this. Let's narrow it down to two, and we're going to be talking about these throughout the next 13 minutes. First of which is the fact that people can get around the wall. Well, actually, more like three problems, but first of which is the fact that people can get around the wall. There are airplanes, you can dig under it, you can take a boat and go around it. There are several different ways you can get past it, or if there aren't any guard posts and it's not electrified or something like that, you can drill. Now, some of those points are fair, and again, I'm about to debunk that, but let's just go through the issues first. People's next problem with it was they thought it would cost too much. Because, I mean, if you're planning on building an effective wall, I mean, that's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, to pretty much completely border, to create a massive country, not state, countrywide border between Mexico and the U.S., that's going to cost a lot of money. And people's third main issue was they thought that not only was it impractical and it would cost a lot, but they also thought that it would be used as like a racist tool and, pretty much the usual excuse for a lot of things that are going on now. Now, the first point I'd like to debunk is the fact about getting through. If you have enough money to get like a massive drill, or if you have enough money to get a boat to go around the border, or get a plane to fly over, you have enough money to get legal documentation. And people could say, well, if they're a criminal, then, maybe they won't have enough money. If you are a criminal, you shouldn't be going anywhere but Mexican jail. Or if you're from America trying to get to Mexico illegally, then our jail. Either way, jail if you're already a criminal for another reason. And the fact of like, well, some immigrants are good people, but they don't have money. They're trying it right now. Illegal immigrants that are already in the U.S., because we can't boot them all. There are too many. So right now, illegal immigrants in the U.S., there's some stuff going on where their punishment is going to be like, well, first of all, they're going to start booting people who, as far as I understand, they're going to start booting people who are coming in now, but people who are already here, they're just going to be like, you better be a good citizen, you better not do anything, and if you don't commit any more crimes other than this, we're going to let you off the hook, pretty much. That's how I understand it. So that pretty much gets rid of the first 2 points. Or I guess the first and last. But the second point of cost is still very important. And if you would like to participate in this call or think any of my points are not valid, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. All right, now to continue. So a lot of people thought this wall would be massively expensive, and $1.6 billion is a very fair amount of change. Well, depends on what you're comparing it to. President Donald Trump has been cutting our budget a lot recently, like getting rid of a lot of money for Medicaid, and his new plan, which has failed, which we're not going to get into today, but maybe in a future deal where like the plan has failed to get rid of Obamacare, at least for now, repeal and replace Obamacare. People thought that like this would be a lot of money to put into something that might not even work, which again I have debunked. You have enough money to get a passport if you have enough money to get around a massive wall, or I guess now it's going to be part wall, part fence. So the thing about the cost, you need to put everything into relatives. Let's say you equate money. Let's say you put everything into money. I'm going to look at this a bit cold-heartedly, but let's just say, and the following, I'm looking at purely logical, but let's just look at that number of $1.6 billion. Thousands and thousands of people have gone into drug use or have been killed by illegal immigrants or because of them. Illegal immigrants, by the way. And I'm sure if you look at the statistics, I'll bet you the illegal immigrant crime rate is much higher than the legal immigrant crime rate. The illegal people who have had their backgrounds checked and who got in properly, they should be treated like every other citizen. And if they're not, then I'm going to admit that the Democratic Party was right, because they should not be treated any worse. If you did everything right and you came here legally, you don't deserve any better or worse treatment. But if you came here illegally, or at least now if you come here illegally, you don't have any, like, you don't have any defense. It's the same as committing any other crime. I mean, offenses, of course, it's not as bad as murdering someone or anything like that, but it's still a crime. That's why it's called illegal immigration. And that's one of my main points. So people think that $1.6 billion is too much money to go into something like this. But A, it could have potentially been a lot more. And B, I mean, we're kind of throwing away money on other things that we don't know are true. I mean, I'm not going to get into climate change because I don't have a degree. I don't know any of the science behind climate change. I mean, talk to some people, they say climate change is without a doubt real. You talk to other people, they say maybe it is real, but it's not caused by us. You talk to other people, they say there's nothing happening. We're just getting hot weather. This has happened before. Because you got to be stupid to think nothing's happening. I mean, whether or not you think climate change is the fact, that's the debate. But you got to be stupid to think something's not happening. I mean, we're having summers hotter than we've ever had, and we're also having like winters. I remember one day in late April or early May, we had snow. Snow that didn't melt overnight. But anyways, we're taking your calls right now. The number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. All right. Now back to the topic at hand, which is once again the fact that President Donald Trump's wall has been funded. Actually back to the wall. I kind of steered off to climate change there, but now going back to the wall. You should put it in retrospect to how much money are we losing and how many lives are we losing from letting illegal immigrants come in. Am I saying that every illegal immigrant is evil? No. There have been, I'm positive that there have been plenty of illegal immigrants that just didn't have the money, needed to come in, and then they just been really productive. They've done nothing but help our society. They haven't mooched off us. They haven't like used any privileges, minority privileges in universities. I am positive that there are a lot of people like this. But there are some who do exactly that. They just sneak in because they don't want to pay any money to get their passport. They just want to come in, sell drugs, do all kinds of bad illegal stuff, and they want to do it in the US since they've been busted in Mexico. It's a split. But you see, the thing is, when it's someone coming in legal, the odds of them not doing anything are much higher because they went through the trouble to do everything illegally. So you kind of have to balance everything. And that's why it's a pretty split conversation. I think some things that the Democratic Party talks about, they're just so horribly wrong, it's not even funny. Like the myth of the wage gap and all that sort of feminism stuff, but we're not going to get into that today. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe that'll be a topic in the future. But this is, I'd have to say, and the same applies to the climate change weather debate with like fossil fuels. It's a pretty split thing. They both have pretty fair points. And although in some directions, I am overall more right-leaning, but to say that I'm some sort of ultra conservative whatever is just not true, because you can look at my track record on social media and listen to previous shows, because when you're ultra right, you're Adolf Hitler. And I think I've explained my problems. I think everyone has explained their problems with Adolf Hitler. So I would not like to say that I am some ultra right. I like to think of myself as fairly balanced, but not entirely unbiased. Hey, but that's just me. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I am a lot more biased than I think. But I do like to provide facts. And if my facts are wrong, if my facts are right and you like to comment on them, well, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. And back to the show. Now, another interesting thing about this is the fact of the solar panels. If you haven't heard, President Donald Trump has seriously considered putting solar panels on the wall. And if the wall does get built, and even if it isn't that effective, that would be a fantastic idea. I mean, climate change or no climate change, Mexico and the southern states are hot. They're unbelievably hot. In fact, I mean, Phoenix, Arizona, but that's just one example. All right, now I'm going to look up weather in Texas. I'm going to report this live as we're doing this. I know it's, mid-July, a bit biased, but still. It is 92 degrees in Houston, Texas right now with 54% humidity. But hey, there's a 4% chance of precipitation, so. But you see my point, and this isn't a one-day occurrence. Tomorrow, let's see here. Yeah, tomorrow it's going to be 93. Day after that, 95. Then 95 again, and 95 again, and 96, and so on and so on and so on. These are hot places, and these places don't get hot by just existing. I mean, they're closer to the equator, and they just get a lot of sun. That's it. And a lot of sun, that generates a lot of heat. But the sun, solar panels, that could power a lot of stuff. Because whether or not you think alternative energy is a must and fossil fuels are going to kill the planet, everyone agrees that alternative energies cannot be a bad thing. I mean, of course, everything used can be abused, but I mean, there is no evidence whatsoever of these alternative energies like solar power, wind energy, like windmills, hydropower. No evidence of this stuff really hurting the environment in a major way that I've heard of. So if President Donald Trump actually does put if the wall gets built, or when it gets built, I suppose, and if it actually gets solar panels on it, we could be saving more money than we could make. We could be saving more money than we're spending, and we could keep out a lot of illegal immigrants. I'm sure not all of them, but still a fair amount of them. And we're actually cracking down on criminals here in the U.S., but illegal immigrants who have done more than just illegally immigrate. So it's kind of a split. But if he actually does do this, it could help so many people. It could be justice without vengeance. And all these illegal immigrants some of the good ones can live out their lives. The other ones, they can work on easier ways to get passports, and things might actually just work out overall. I know that seems a bit naive, but hey, we can all hope, right? Anyways, right now, 45 minutes to the hour, we are moving on to our second segment, which is education problems. This was actually our very first segment on the show, so I'm very happy to get back to this. But the number, if you'd like to participate, you know, kick off this topic for the next 15 minutes, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. And contrary to what Sammy said in the previous episode, no, I do not have a tab open with that number. Because yes, I was asked by people digitally and in real life. No, I do not. Please stop asking. Please stop asking. And the reason I repeated that twice was just to make a point of how annoying it seems when someone repeats the same question more than once. Education problems. Now, last time we did a segment on this, I talked about bureaucracy, primarily bureaucracy and progressivism or liberalism on a massive scale, where to the point where it affects teaching. Those are the two things I covered in this episode. In the very first show, and my format was nowhere near as good as it is now, as well, which is why this segment is going to be so much better than last time. And I'm also going to be bringing up some new points. But if you haven't seen the first show, make sure to go check that out up on YouTube and SoundCloud right now as we speak. Or at least as I speak. So you can go check that out and leave your thoughts. I thought, even though the audio quality wasn't the best, I thought the actual content of it wasn't bad. But I could be wrong. And if you disagree with me, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Once again, this number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. All right, now back to the topic at hand. One of the biggest problems in schools, my view, is the fact that it's kind of funny enough, this ties back to video games and primarily video games, but the fact of massive leaps where they either don't do enough and do too much. And this is just like a big overlook thing. This kind of ties back to the bureaucracy of it, or at least the inhumanness of it, in the fact that they probably have all their kids going to some fancy private school with tutors or something. They're not actually testing out their own formulas. And it's kind of, if you look at it in a certain way, it's like a movie. It looks good on paper, but when you apply it, it's just not funny. It's not good, it's not funny, it's not dramatic. I mean, sometimes what looks good in your head doesn't look good in real life. This happens many, many times. I don't know a percentage, of course. But I'd be willing to venture that it could possibly even be a majority of times. But hey, I could be wrong. That's the thing about the show. It's a discussion. Unless they're absolute facts, I never say anything's a fact. That should be a catchline. Nothing's a fact unless it's a fact. I like that. I'll look into that. But the thing about this is, it's a fact. That these people need to talk to the people who are being affected by whatever they do. They need to talk to the teachers, not the private school teachers, not the tutors. They need to talk to the teachers who teach the normal classes day in and day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and not some substitute teacher, not some corporate shill. There's a teacher at my school. We're gonna call her Miss Smith. Let's just call her Miss Smith. Miss Smith is possibly one of the best teachers I have ever had. And last year, and Miss Smith, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I gotta be honest here, but last year, I hated her, and it wasn't her fault. It was the fact that I wasn't doing that great last year, and I was blaming my own lack of resolve for learning. I blamed it on her. But the thing is, the reason she is such a great teacher is because she grades you on how you do. She tells you, you are amazing at this. You are terrible at this. And that is what we need in schools nowadays. We need to go back to what made people great, and that is learning from our mistakes and capitalizing on what we do good. Nowadays, we're being pampered. We're being pampered. We're being told, oh, this is so great. You did great. You did fantastic. I'm going to give you an A for your progress, even though this gets like a D plus at best, or a C minus at best. She grades you on how you do, not how you think you did, not how you feel you do, not how nice you are to her, how good you did. And after I beat a nail into my head and realized how stupid I was, I realized well, first of all, she's a very nice person. She's extremely nice to me. And she's also brutally honest, which is just perfect. That's the perfect learning environment. Now, I don't think she's not the kind of teacher who should be teaching little kids. Little kids do need that kind of pampering. I wouldn't go as far as to say 4th or 5th graders, but anyone below the age of 8. They probably do need it just to get on their feet, because let's be fair, you don't really get to the even somewhat important stuff until the 3rd grade. I mean, 1st grade and 2nd grade, addition and subtraction. It takes 3 seconds to learn that. If you just need to pass those years, and then it takes no time at all to master it in the 3rd grade. None whatsoever. And I've spoken with kids who have had problems with this, who didn't just skate by those years like I did. But what we need to do is go back to what our schools used to be. Now, I'm not saying we need to go back to the point where like some people think we should go back way far, like the Soviet school kind of the Soviet school teachings are horrible. It's like all the parts of Miss Smith, but minus any of the good parts. None of the niceness, none of the fact that you say what you did good. It's just, it's like, if you cannot answer this question live on the spot that we have studied for the first time, and I briefly brought up 3 weeks ago, you get a D- for the rest of the term. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but I'm not that far off. The Soviet schools were Hitlerian. Or I guess I should say Stalin-like. But the point was, it's still horrible. Not still, but it was just absolutely horrible. And I'm not sure about Russian schools nowadays, but a lot of American schools, especially in more left-leaning states like mine, don't apply themselves. That's a term from Breaking Bad. Probably shouldn't use that. But these schools, they need to go back to what created our best presidents. What created not even our best presidents, our best people. What created the Ronald Reagans? What created the Bushes? What created the Bill Gateses, like the innovators? Actually, no, not even Bill Gates. Forget Bill Gates. Jeff Bezos, the creator of Amazon. That was right. If I'm wrong, then no one will ever forgive me. So, who founded Amazon? And it's also great that I have a fact checker right here. It is Jeff Bezos. Good. We need to go back to what made these people what they were. And it was not pampering. They were not made by pampering. They were made by capitalizing on their good sides and trying to improve upon their bad sides, instead of just putting the bad and the good kids on an equal level like we have now. We're like, okay, this kid's a moron, and this kid is a moron, and this kid is unbelievably smart. So how about we put them on the same footing? We're taking your calls right now. Yeah, definitely Jeff Bezos. We're taking your calls right now. The number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. And actually, I have some friends and family watching the show right now. So I'd like to reiterate this number, and I want to make sure everybody catches this. The number to call into the show is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, it is 719-284-5873 Then put in the pin 24777, which is, again, the pin being 24777. All right, continuing. We need to get back to what made this country great, or at least what made our education great, and why we had so many fantastic people of our last century. Like, we had so many fantastic innovators, which brought us into the Industrial Revolution, and we have probably more famous people, famous for a good reason. I'm not talking about our modern day celebrities. I'm talking about our 20th century celebrities. We probably had more great people in the 20th century than any other century combined, being 18th, 19th, and this one. All of them combined probably did not have as good of people as the 20th century, and that is because we perfected the process, and then we went backwards. And we need to stop going backwards. We got to be like, what are we doing? We missed the mark. We were at the mark, and we walked right past the mark. What are we doing? We're doing the wrong thing. That is what we need to do. Or rather, the district officials. And that's why I'm so happy to have that President Trump got someone like Betsy DeVos as the education secretary, because we need someone new. We can't continue with the same bureaucratic nonsense that everyone else has. We need anything new. I mean, we can try it at least. I'm sure. I mean, some people are afraid that she's some ultra religious whatever. We need to call it. So we just need to trust what we voted in. We need to trust the person and the people who we voted in. And then we need to let them do what they're going to do. And if things go bad, we're just not going to reelect them. I mean, people think that so many horrible things can be done in a time. It takes a long time to pass bills to change anything of relevance. I mean, it's got to go through. I mean, if we're talking about like a big thing, it's got to go through the House. It's got to go through the Senate. Then it has to go through both of them. Then it has to go through both of them again. Then it has to go to the president. And if the president says no, then it has to go through both of them. And a huge majority needs to say, yeah, we want this. I mean, it's not easy to do something that's not going to work out. I mean, let's just assume that Betsy DeVos is this horrible person. Again, I don't think she is. There's no proof that she is. Well, let's just say that she is. Anyways, we have a call right now. Hello, sir. What is your name?
Andrew.
Andrew. Great to have you on the Ben Moskalensky show. Andrew right now is calling from Las Vegas. I swear I won't give your address in. Just kind of cool that we have people calling from Las Vegas. So Andrew, have you been listening to this segment of the show?
Yes, I think my tablet is a little bit far behind because now it's okay. I'll just stay on the line. Okay, hello.
Well, okay. So Andrew, to refresh you and everybody watching, for the next minute, we're going to be talking about education problems. So in your view, what's the biggest problem with like mainstream education? Like, what do you think could be changed in the education system to make education possible for children? Because right now our government schools just are not working. What do you think one of the main problems is?
I think, I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but I also think that a lot of the main principals of schools around the place do not check enough what the teachers' applications are.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's just one example. And we actually, in my 4th grade, my English teacher was literally possibly the worst teacher. I learned almost nothing in the 4th grade from my English class. And this is not, and to be fair, like, I'm not sure if the principal hires these people. I don't think the principal has that much of a role, but it's just district officials in general. They need to go down to earth. They need to talk and coerce. They need to get rid of these corporate whatevers that have come in and stolen what it means to educate. They need to talk to the people who are being affected by this, and they need to like listen to their criticisms and take them into account. Because what we have now, we have all kinds of weird people in our schools, and we're either not learning, or we're having severe spikes in education. Have you ever had a case where you had a teacher that was just beyond horrible?
Well, I did have this one English teacher, but this was back in, I'd say, around fourth grade or so, and she was really, really bad. Not exactly teaching wise, but she would yell at the students and call parents, and mind you, we were only fourth graders, so we didn't know very much. But this was pretty bad because she would get kids in trouble for things they didn't do, and that was a huge problem in the school, was that teacher.
Yeah, and now we're hearing about like one of the new things coming up is criminal teachers. Like all kinds of weird people want to become teachers to get into like.
And if I may share this, in fact, I did have a criminal teacher teaching at my school.
You're kidding.
Nope.
My next topic can wait another minute, please. If you wouldn't mind. If you would mind, then it's okay. But if you wouldn't mind just briefly describing, or if you would though, it's okay.
All right, so I'll tell you. Around towards the end of the school year, when I moved into this old school I used to go to, which was back in Vegas, as you already know then, then I got this science teacher who seemed fine at first, but not too long ago I found out that he called to female students after class and asked what underwear they were wearing.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
Not at all.
Unbelievable. And this is the problem. We need to do harder background checks, and this actually goes to the, since we're in our free-for-all topic, we can talk about anything, and we're actually about to switch to something a bit lighter than this. But this is an extreme example. I'm so sorry to hear about this. This person was arrested, correct?
Yep.
Good, because nothing less is deserved. But this is the problem, where perfectly okay, would you consider your school on the whole to be okay, other than of course this? Would you consider your school to be okay?
Not really.
Do you go to a public school?
Yeah.
So it's probably okay, so it's probably like a government school. This is the problem. This is the problem. We need to zero in on stuff like this. We need to stop worrying about these details. My teachers get these $1,500 computers that the school buys for them, and my kids, like, and the kids like me and so on, we still use these netbooks from 2003, which take 10 minutes to get up and just to log in, and that's if we're lucky. 10 minutes if we're lucky. I told some horror stories of that on the first show, which you can go check out on YouTube and SoundCloud. But it was just outrageous what was happening. Anyways, Andrew, we're loving to have you, and I'm very happy that you're here. Andrew's been a pretty good fan of the Ben Moskalensky show for a fair amount of time now, but he just hasn't had the opportunity to call in yet. So I'm very happy that Andrew could be here with us. But if anyone else would like to join us, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Anyways, now that we are a couple minutes into our free-for-all section where we talk about anything, I think we should stray away from, topics such as criminal teachers, and possibly zero in on anything more lighthearted. So would you like to kick it off, or would you like me to?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, today I just came back, and things were pretty rushed. But I came back from a a quote unquote meeting that my dad had to go to, and my relatives were out, so I had to go with my dad. I wanted to do some stuff for Hero of the First Islands, which is my book, and you can go check that out. Link in the description. But I wanted to go. I mean, I didn't really want to go, but I had no choice really, because Dad said this is a mandatory meeting. So I hopped in the car, and next thing you know, I thought he was going to go meet up with one of his clients. Next thing you know, we're in the middle of Redmond Library. And Dad doesn't, he meets up with his clients where his clients typically live, either where they live or they work. So I'm kind of confused why we're in the middle of the library, but whatever. So I'm walking into the library, and one event leads to another, and eventually I see a sign. The Nowhere Man author, it's like, meet the author, Greg Hurwitz, author of The Nowhere Man, July 22nd, 1 p.m., which was today. I almost, like, I don't know how, I can't even describe to you how happy I was. There was like a full Q&A kind of thing with Greg Hurwitz, who is the author of The Nowhere Man and Orphan X. Now, Andrew, have you ever read the Orphan X books or the series?
No, I have not.
Are you a reading fan?
So it has to be books I really enjoy, though. I'm more of a comic person.
Well, Greg Hurwitz, actually, he has worked on Batman, Wolverine, and some Punisher, I believe. And, yeah, Batman, Penguin, Wolverine, and I believe some Punisher. And by the way, those are some of the better comics. Just like to throw that in there. Now, I actually got.
I'm a Marvel fan.
Are you kidding? I'm triggered. I'm triggered now. Do you know what you have done to me? Now I'm not going to get my mind off that for the rest of the show. But anyways, Greg Hurwitz is my favorite author right now because he wrote the Orphan X series. Now, to anyone who's looking for a good read, it's a kind of a spy book, but it's not like James Bond, because James Bond, in his own words, James Bond never got to go home. This is a very down-to-earth kind of person. It's still really exciting. It's not like boring or melodramatic or anything. It's still unbelievably exciting with unbelievable amounts of research put into it. And you can tell by the quality of writing. There have only been 2 books that have come out so far, Orphan X and then The Nowhere Man. But it's just such an amazing series of books. And there was a Q&A today. And I asked, I believe, over half of the questions. I believe out of the 24 or 3 people that came there, I asked about 55% of the questions. I don't think I'm healthy mentally, but I was just so excited to see Greg Hurwitz. And he's a great guy. I believe he has a Google Plus account. Make sure to go follow Greg Hurwitz on Google Plus. And again, definitely go buy Orphan X and The Nowhere Man. You will not regret it. Andrew, who would you say your favorite author is?
Me?
Yes. No. The Andrew that is hovering over my shoulder right now, controlling my every movement. Okay, I'm messing with you. It's you. Yeah.
Stan Lee is my favorite author.
Stan Lee. I'm assuming only for his Marvel comics.
I do like Melissa de la Cruz's book.
I know her. Well, Stan Lee isn't, I wouldn't consider him an author because it's comics, but I've read books by Melissa de la Cruz. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But Andrew.
I like her Descendant series.
As does my sister. But this book, these Orphan X books, they will knock it so far out of the sky you can't even believe it. The Nowhere Man, which was the sequel to Orphan X, is my second favorite book of all time. Not just of its genre, of all time. The only book that has ever beaten it, that beat it in my view, was the literary masterpiece. And I don't use this word lightly. Masterpiece. Extraordinary, deep, well-made, amazingly well-written masterpiece. To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird was just absolutely amazing. If it was made nowadays, I'd probably think it was not that great, but for its time, To Kill a Mockingbird was just such an amazing book. So if you're also looking for a classic to read, once again, I'd highly recommend checking out those 2 books. It's a very different feeling, but I'm just looking in the end of like how much I liked it. Anyways, 5 minutes till our next section, which is going to be Super Smash Bros. In general, more specifically character matchups.
Oh, that's okay. Hold on. It's a wonderful, wonderful topic because there's a new one coming out shortly.
I want to use the term shortly, but we're going to be getting into that pretty soon, or we can use part of the rest of our free-for-all section and just start talking about that so we have a little bit of extra time. But until that point, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. If the beginning of those words sounded too eager, then the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Now, Andrew, have you played any of the Super Smash Bros. Games?
Call Ben. Okay, sorry.
Call Ben? We're in the middle of a call. But anyways, have you played any of the Super? Exactly. That we do. And if anybody, don't feel shy. Don't feel shy. Don't feel like your opinion is not wanted. If anything, if it's an unusual opinion, then it's going to be more wanted. But Andrew, have you ever played any of the Smash Bros. Games?
Yeah, for the one for the original Wii system.
So you played Brawl?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I as well played Brawl. And who did you main? I know the answer to this, but who did you main? I am positive I know what this answer is. Well, who did you main?
Who did I make?
Main. Like, who is your main character that you like to play with?
Kirby.
Really? That's interesting. He was so low on tier list in Brawl. He was where is he on the tier list? He was D tier. My main, and I know everyone's gonna hate me for this, but my main was in fact literally the best character in the game, Meta Knight, who has his own tier. Did you know that, by the way? No other character is in the SS tier in the entire series other than Fox from Melee. Can you believe that?
I also like using Raven.
What?
Sorry, I dropped something.
Oh. But anyways, throughout the games, do you want to know how many characters each game had?
How many characters?
Well, the original had 12. Melee had 26, so the first two games are 38. Brawl had 38 characters. 38 by 2 is 76. And 4, if you're counting me characters and DLC, is 58 characters. 76 plus 58 is 134. Yes, 134. Do you want to know how many characters are in SS tier?
How many?
2. Two characters.
2.
And one of them was my main in Brawl, which was Meta Knight. And that's the kind of annoying person I am. My main was Meta Knight, the best character in Brawl. And do you want to know who my second main was?
Who?
Ice Climbers, the second best character in the game on the tier list. My third was
characters.
What'd you say?
You mean characters, because those are 2 characters.
That's true. My third main was Snake, which is also pretty low of me, considering how high on the tier list it is. But in Super Smash Bros. 4, it's so weird because the low tier characters are the most fun. Right now, my main is Little Mac, and I'm going to explain that in a second because I know I can already feel people being mad at me for maining Little Mac. My second main is Kirby, and my third main is your boy Ganondorf.
I think my second main is Lucario, the Pokemon.
Lucario.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And Brawl and for all the Smash Bros. Games have fairly similar terminology. And right now we're going to our Super Smash Bros. Deal. They have pretty similar terminology. Like teching is the same thing. Side being, up being, neutral being, dodging. All those things are the same in both games. So we can talk on different planes. Why did you like Lucario in Brawl?
I like the way he moved because he did a lot of jumping, and that's my favorite part was avoiding getting hit.
Yeah.
So I think that my favorite thing that using with him is the jumping and his power up.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think I haven't like checked this, but I think every character in Smash Bros. 4 has at least one thing about them that makes them special. And I don't just mean moves. I mean like one extraordinary trait. Like one of the less extraordinary traits belongs to Sonic, who is just the fastest character in the game. You look at a character like Luigi, who is dumb, or not dumb, but it was dumb that they put him so low on the tier list. Do you want to know where Luigi is in the Smash Bros. 4 tier list?
Sure.
He is high C tier. That's it. That's it. Peach is higher on the tier list than him. Pikachu is higher on the tier list than him. Heck, Sonic is miles ahead of him on the tier list. And Luigi is so powerful. Do you want to know why? There's one move that makes, actually two moves that make Luigi powerful. Do you want to know what those two moves are?
What are they?
Nair and down taunt. And let me explain this. And I can already feel people getting so mad. Nair, which stands for neutral air, which is when you're in the air and you press 2. On Brawl, at least. On 4, it would be just pressing A. You know what a combo is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can be in the middle of the best combo. And if it's a true combo, true combos are combos you can't escape for anyone who doesn't know. If it's a true combo, Luigi can actually get out of true combos because you just press, you just use Nair, and it acts so quickly because Luigi has like no end lag that you could just sneak out of an amazing combo. The other player can be way better than you, but they will not get a single kill, or they can't get a single combo against you because you just use Nair and you kick them away, and then you can run back for your next attack. And Luigi, there's so many lucky elements to Luigi that just makes him unfair. Do you know his charge attack?
What?
Where he okay, so what he does, and to those of you who don't know as well, he charges into like a ball, and he basically launches forward, kind of like a human missile. And typically it's pretty soft. But there's a 1 out of 10 chance that if you launch it, it will do something called a misfire. A misfire is when it packs like 100-fold the punch, and it can kill you at unbelievably low percentages with absolutely insane hitboxes that make no sense. And his down taunt. Now, you know what taunting is, correct, Andrew?
Yeah, it's messing with people.
Kind of, yeah. It's like you press a button and then they do some sort of
really explain it, but I know it is.
Yeah, it's you press. Well, actually, it's only one button. It's not several. You press a button, and your character does some sort of an act or a movement, kind of like to taunt the person. Like Captain Falcon, if you use his, I believe it's his up taunt, he'll his side taunt. I think he'll put his arm forward, like do the finger motion, and it's like, like come here, fight me. Or one of his other taunts, down taunt, I think, is he says like, show me your moves after he kills you. Like, come on, is that your best? Sort of a deal like that. But Luigi, first of all, his taunts are weird. One of his taunts, it's like he turns into one of those little cuckoo birds that like dips its nose into the water and keeps dipping back up. Do you know those things?
Yeah.
It's like he turns into one of those weird things. Which just creeps me out. But his other taunt, his down taunt, it actually does damage if it hits you. And it does a ton of damage. If you're on the ledge, it doesn't matter what percent you're at. You could be at 0%. If you're on the ledge and he down taunts you, you're dead. No recovery. You could be villager for all I care. Or, like with the best recovery in the entire game, you're dead. If he down taunts you, if you're off stage or on the ledge, you're dead. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And do you want to know what tier he is? He's high C tier. And this is the thing that I also dislike. tier lists are based on how good people are with the character, like how good the pros are, instead of how good the character actually is. That's why Diddy Kong is S tier and Sonic is A tier, because there are a couple of fantastic players with them, even though their characters are only pretty good. Whereas you have characters like Luigi, which are there in C tier. And then the lower tier characters, that is what makes me the maddest. I mean, how can you put Ganondorf in F tier? Do you know about the Ganondorf side B?
No.
What you do is you lure your opponent off stage with a technique called the wait and bait, or the wait and bait, which Alpharad invented, I believe. But I'm not sure about that. Once again, facts are only facts if they're facts. So don't quote me on that. You'll have to go fact check that one yourself. But what you do is you wait until they're off stage with you. You side B and you grab them. It's a command grab. You dash forward towards them. You grab them, and then you just hurl them down off the stage. I mean, you go with them, but the thing is, they hit the ground first. So if you're both on your last stock, that person will always die first. Can you believe that?
I cannot believe that.
And the thing, now people will say, well, Bowser's the same thing. No, it's not. If Bowser uses his command grab and sends you off the stage, only Bowser will die. If you have a good recovery, you can recover, and it will still kill Bowser first. If you're both down to your last stock, only Bowser will die. But yet still, Bowser is so low on the tier list. And you want to know another stupid thing?
What?
Corporations getting involved with characters to the point where the fun is sucked out of it. There are so many unnecessary characters in this game that are just totally useless. I mean, sometimes people make mistakes and make characters that really no one likes to use. I mean, like, how many people use Charizard? Not a lot of people. Whereas you compare it to someone like Villager or Corrin or Lucina or Captain Falcon and Greninja and so on, where just a ton of people use those characters. It's fine if you make mistakes like that, because you don't know, and maybe some people do like them, and I'm just stupid. Did you know that there are 2 separate characters for Pit and Dark Pit?
Really?
Uh-huh. And they are exactly the same on the tier list. All of their moves are the same. They just pretty much look different. They are exactly the same. They are 28.69 on the tier list, both of them.
Pit is honestly one of my favorite characters.
Would you say he's your third main?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, if you ever come over to Washington State, his what?
His bow and arrow attack.
Yeah, his neutral B. Well, if you ever come over to Washington State, I'll go Donkey Kong. Give you the Ding Dong Deluxe, which is what I like to call the Donkey Kong's combos. The Ding Dong Deluxe. I love that so much. I'm gonna give you a list of totally unnecessary characters, and okay, maybe not unnecessary. So, in the last game, even though they had Captain Falcon and Ganondorf, I believe, in Brawl, I'm not sure if this was the case in Brawl, but in this game, they are so similar. No one is talking about how similar they are. Everyone's talking about like the fact that Toon Link and Link have horrible end lag. Everyone's talking about technical characters like Lucina. Or Greninja. Everyone's talking about S tier and F tier. No one is talking about the fact that Captain Falcon and Ganondorf are pretty much the same. Do you want to know what happens when you use your neutral B, Andrew? On both of those characters? They both do their extremely powerful punch, which looks almost the same. Do you want to know what happens if you use the side B?
What happens?
That was awkward. They both just grab you and there's an explosion. If they use the up B, it's the same thing. It's the same kind of a recovery. It's just the graphics are different. Heck, even their pokes look the same. I mean, it's unbelievable how many just character copies they did. And do you want to know the only difference between Marth and Lucina other than graphics?
What?
It's the fact that Marth is not a very technical character and Lucina is. That is it. The fact that Lucina is better at combos and Marth is better at one-time moves. That is the grand difference between Marth and Lucina.
Wow.
Mario and Luigi, there are a lot of differences between that. That's not a big deal. And same with Fox and Falco. And Dr. Mario and Mario, also very different. A lot of interesting elements. Lucario with his damage thing, that's very interesting. Meta Knight, Kirby, DDD, all very different. A lot of these characters were really well thought out. And that even includes Pac-Man, who I don't particularly like. I do like the way he works. But to go back to the tier list real quick, it's so stupid how it works. Because Shulk is a fantastic character. He's D tier. Wario is a fantastic character. He's D tier. But then again, you look at a character that's nothing special, like Sonic or Rosalina, A tier. It's all about the pros. It's all about. It's not okay. I wouldn't say that, but it's not about the people who a majority of people who play the games. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just my main. That's one of my biggest beefs with this game is like they have characters. They cut out characters that people want, like Shovel Knight. I would have killed for Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight would have been an awesome addition to this game. Maybe more characters from Street Fighter or Tekken or something like that. Like they only got Ryu. I would have preferred more. And maybe like someone else from the Captain Falcon series. But we have a Link and a Toon Link. Who needs that? I mean, like one or the other. And they made them so much worse too. It's like Link is 39th and Toon Link is 20th. I mean, Toon Link's B tier and Shulk is D tier. Or Shulk. Link is D tier. I mean, it's just unbelievable, you know?
That is definitely crazy.
And this actually ties back to one of the main topics on my last show that I did with my very good friend Sammy. And if you'd like to go check that out, that's Ben Moskalensky's Show 5 for anyone who'd like to know. It's the fact that like corporate involvement in like big time company game pro whatever's it needs to chill. They gotta take second. They gotta take the back burner, not the front row, not the front grill, because the people who are a majority of people who are actually eating the meat don't like that fancy seasoned meat. They like their nice BBQ steak. They don't want that whatever Parmesan filet or whatever. You know what I mean? Would you say? Would you say? What game would you say that they did something like this? Not Nintendo, but like a big corporation where they just focused so much on the corporate elements, really, that they kind of lost track of what they were doing. Can you think of any games like that?
I know people are gonna be all triggered, but Club Penguin.
Hey, I didn't play that game myself, so I can't really comment on that. But if you would like to comment on that or what I said, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Now I'd like to finish off. Sorry, what?
I said, come on, people, join us up here.
Exactly.
We need more people commenting.
We'd love it. And Andrew, you don't need to don't feel like you're obligated to stay. I've highly enjoyed your call, but if you wouldn't like to stay, you can stay or go as long as you'd like to stay or go. If you're feeling tired, totally fine. You could leave, listen to the rest of the show, or you could stay for a while until someone else calls in. It's totally your choice.
I must stay.
All righty. Good to hear. Good to hear. Now to wrap this up, one thing I don't want to rag on Smash 4 and the other Smash games. One thing I love is character advantages. I know I make jokes saying I hate it, but really it is a lot of fun. Because if it was all about the tiers, then no one would ever touch characters like Ganondorf, King Dedede, Jigglypuff, or Zelda, or any of the action. That's just F tier. I mean, there are other low tiers like the E tier. Like no one would be touching Mac or Roy or Pac-Man or Kirby or Bowser Jr. or Falco or Dr. Mario. And most people probably wouldn't. And most people probably wouldn't even do mid tiers. But like the thing is, Smash 4 created type advantage. Well, not created, but reinstated type advantages, which makes it kind of an interesting deal. But they didn't make it prominent. I mean, if your Jigglypuff is good enough, maybe you could even beat a Bayonetta, even though you have every disadvantage. And that's what makes Smash 4 so interesting. You don't know what you're going up against. I mean, let's say I didn't know who Andrew's main was, who turns out to be Kirby. And by the way, Kirby in this game is better than in Brawl. I just like to say that real quick. And Kirby's my second main, actually. But, I mean, Andrew, if I ever see you for real in, like, a tourney or in Washington State, and Andrew's a good friend of mine, for anyone who'd like to know. I've known Andrew a good amount of time now, and I'm very happy that he's calling in. But I'd love to fight you with my Little Mac. Little Mac versus Kirby. And the thing is, I would have the type advantage. But the thing is, there are things about Kirby that just kind of balance it out, like the fact of Kirby's suck. You could suck me in, do to Little Mac's horrible recovery, like send me off the stage. You can use your hammer. You can use your more powerful attacks and send Kirby flying. But the thing is, Little Mac is very fast, which also makes it hard for Kirby to get good attacks. And you're also a lightweight, which makes you more floaty. So it's like all these things balance themselves out. And that's just one example of the Little Mac Kirby matchup. And by the way, before we move on to our next topic, which is going to be TV shows or shows in general, I'd like to mention that between 5:30 and 6 p.m. today Pacific time, after only half an hour after the show is over, I'm going to be doing a 25-minute long live stream on Instagram Live where I play as Sheik against people on For Glory for 25 minutes. Totally random. And I believe Sheik won my poll. And I actually asked whether or not it should be like different lists of characters. I actually came up with different characters like in my poll for this episode and the next episode. So like as an example, my second episode on the series I'm calling For Your Glory, like you get to choose, it's a spin on For Glory. I'll be playing as Little Mac, and I believe, I'm going to go check this right now, I believe Little Mac will be, I'm sorry, I believe Sheik will be later today. So Andrew, you have Instagram, correct? Andrew, hello?
I said yeah.
Oh, sorry, I must have drowned out. So due to the fact that you have Instagram, you could actually join me today while I fight edgy 5-year-olds on For Glory. Yeah, Sheik did win the poll. As Sheik, and I'm actually been getting some practice as Sheik, who is unbelievably fun, the first high-tier character that I really like. But more details on that on the actual stream itself. Anyways, now we'll be moving on to our next segment. Again, Andrew, you can stay or leave, totally your choice. I'm not indicating anything by saying that. I very much enjoy your company, but I don't want you to feel obligated to stay if you don't want to. Our next topic is going to be TV shows. We've had a lot of good ones recently. We've had a lot of bad ones recently. Andrew, have you seen any standouts recently?
Show-wise?
Be it good or bad, just any standouts.
Well, are you talking about shows?
Yes, solely shows. And this includes animes, by the way.
I got to say, there is a lot of shows lately on Disney Channel that have not stayed very long at all.
But were any of them like particularly good or bad in your view? Like really?
Well, I feel like there really wasn't. Through the ones that they got rid of, they really weren't that good. So it was kind of worth getting rid of.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I mean, like some deals, like Netflix as an example, which in my view is horrible. What they do is instead of getting bad series, I remember their Peabody and Sherman show. I think it's like the second or #1 lowest rated show they have, and that's an original show that they have. It's like it has 4 seasons, and it had that horrible like beyond 1-star review after its first season. They just keep pushing it, whereas they get rid of some shows that people really liked, and that's the thing. People need to, instead of just like worrying about the funding, people need to worry more about what do the people want. They need to put money, because obviously all these corporations have money. I mean, do you think that these corporations are running low on money?
Yes, I actually do.
Really? You think so? Well, I don't know. I think when Star Wars makes budgets with multi-million, I possibly even billion-dollar budgets, I don't personally see them as running low on money. But they're just putting it in the wrong places, and they need to put them back into what people like. Um, and that's actually one reason I like a lot of shows that don't have shows and movies that don't have a lot of funding, is because it forces people to get creative. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
When you have some big blockbuster of a show that will do good one way or another, and I mean review wise, then people don't really need to focus on, and this applies even more so to movies. But we're talking about shows. But people don't really need to put their full effort into it. I remember um, 24 season 10, pretty good. Not as good as 24 Legacy, and not as good as the previous season, or season 9 or something like that. But not as good as the previous seasons, and not as good as the spin-off. And that's because the previous seasons were not as popular as they could have been, since Kiefer Sutherland, I don't know how to pronounce his name, wasn't some huge name now like Daisy Ridley or Emma Stone that just everybody knows who this is, and the production value is just going to be through the roof just for that alone. I mean, it forces people to get creative when they don't have a lot of um, ground to work on, or else they know that they're just going to go out of business. And this is what we need to get back to, or at least operating in that certain mode. I mean, in your view, have you ever seen a super high budget show, like really, like a lot of people, super high budget, that was really, really good in terms of like quality?
Never.
Never. I'd have to agree, because I mean, you look at a show like Person of Interest. Person of Interest, the first 3 seasons, before it was very popular, was amazing. Well, by season 3 it was pretty popular, but it was done by season 3. But my point is, they didn't have like that super high budget and all those amazing graphics or anything like that. It didn't really have that, but it did get into that seasons 4 and 5 when the show kind of started dropping off. Um, and my point is, it forced it, and this is a perfect case. It forced them to get creative. But once they started getting leeway, or they had a lot of leeway, I guess I should say, then they just kind of like put full halts on everything, because everybody knew who Michael Emerson was before Person of Interest, due to the fact that he worked on Lost. I mean, a huge driving force on POI was, hey, we have J.J. Abrams and Michael Emerson, and that's it. And please give us money. Like, that's kind of how the show kind of started off. But as the show got along and people got into it, since Michael Emerson and J.J. Abrams are the dream team in my view, it just got progressively worse, I should say, after 3 seasons. The 4th season was still really good, just not amazing. The 5th season was nothing special, because everyone was so hyped and there was so much going into the series that they just like, okay, we can come out with garbage. It'll be okay. And this, again, I'm sorry to drift off, but this does in fact apply to movies as well. Did you watch or have you heard about the ratings on the new Transformers, Andrew?
Are they bad?
Well, you see, when you call the ratings on the new Transformers bad, that's an insult to bad movies. 15%. On Rotten Tomatoes, it is 15%, and they had a budget that you can't even dream of. I mean, the next 20 generations of my life can probably live off this budget. I'm gonna look up Transformers. What was the name? The Last Night, was it? Last Night. The Last Night budget. I'm gonna look this up right now. Has grossed 126.4 million. So it's made 126.4 million and 392.3. Da, da, da. Okay, production budget $217 million. $217 million for one movie. Now I'm gonna look up ratings for this. I can't really think of shows with like super high, super low, but I want to use this example since it's very flat and straightforward, and I don't have to worry about the seasons thing, even though I am slightly drifting. 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and 2 out of 5 on Common Sense Media. Have you ever seen the movie The Usual Suspects?
The Unusual Suspect?
No, The Usual Suspects.
No, I did not.
It is a masterpiece. Do you want to know what the budget is?
What's the budget?
6 million. 6 million. That's it. Just
Wow.
6 million. And it was made in the 90s. So the value of the US dollar, it's not like this was a 50s movie where the value of the US dollar was like you could buy a pizza with a nickel or something like that. But you look up the ratings on The Usual Suspects. Oh my gosh, it got way lower than it deserved. 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 3 out of 5 on Common Sense Media. I wouldn't say it's common sense if you give it a 60%, but Rotten Tomatoes gave it 88%. And Rotten Tomatoes is pretty rough on movies. And 91% of people liked it on Google users. I would give it 95 easy. I mean, Usual Suspects was amazing. And I'm going to look up what percent of 217 is 6. 3%. The Usual Suspects had 3% of the ratings of Transformers, of the budget, and the movie was 5 times better. Can you believe that?
I really can't believe that. Wow.
I know, and before our entire society wasn't reliant on Hollywood's very whim, but now that it is, we have these insane production values, which just turn out to nothing. Because as long as you have the big names on there, or a reboot or a remaster, which recaptures like 85-year-old, like people's nostalgia or something like that, or like weird 30-year-olds who are just like have no life, just recapture their nostalgia in a crappy, shilled out movie. That's all you need to do to get money nowadays. Massive money, not just the little bits and pieces to kind of barely get along. I mean, these Hollywood actors, I mean, I don't care if you and I mean, I'm not particularly interested in science, and I'm not sure if you are, but if either of us become like some sort of a scientist that makes some groundbreaking discovery, and I'm not talking groundbreaking, I'm talking earth-shattering. I mean, like, whatever, like how to make a black hole in your own backyard, stuff on that level. We're still not going to make enough to even come close, like, to these Hollywood people who just act. And the people who actually do make discoveries like that aren't remembered. We're thinking right now about Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj. How do we play to her whim? How do we feel bad for her, guys? Brad Pitt's getting divorced. We got to feel bad about that. I mean, and that's the state we're at. Like, I'll bet you 95%, no, 99% of people don't know the name of the lady who warned people about World War II, or the man or the lady. Could be either. I'll bet you 99% of people don't know that person's name. I don't want to say it. I'm gonna see if anyone takes a guess in the comments, and I'll release the name later. I do know the name, but I don't want to release it. And that's the thing too, because you can tell me right now a lot of stuff about Tom Cruise, can't you?
Yeah.
You can tell me a lot of stuff right now about Tom Cruise. Am I right?
Yeah.
How much can you tell me about the person who warned the British about World War II? Like, who actually warned them that the war was starting? How much can you tell me about that person? Can you even tell me their name?
Not much of a history person.
In my view, yeah, and the thing is, schools, I mean, that goes back to schools, but hey, that's a whole separate deal. And since we extended a couple of the topics by a couple of minutes, we're gonna kind of slide into our next topic right now. Andrew, once again, thank you very much for joining me. Our next topic is going to be comedy. So and more specifically, what to do and what not to do. But before we get into that, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 2477. Evan. There are 3 sevens. I forgot how many I said. Once again, the number is 719-284-58. Did that scare anybody? Hopefully not. Sorry. Anyways, to continue, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Anyways, so Andrew, in your view, we're going to talk about offensive humor today. In your view, does comedy have limits? It's a simple question. Do you think some jokes are just so offensive that they can't be considered jokes and they're just to the point where they're insensitive?
In a way, yes.
Absolutely. I completely concur. Because people who are like, well, we can't be biased towards comedy. I mean, if it's funny, it's funny, and that's all that matters. No, it's not. A couple months ago, PewDiePie went under a scandal for making a racist joke about Jews in the Holocaust, and he lost like all kinds of sponsorships by YouTube and Disney, and YouTube was like in revolt against media outlets. And in my view, PewDiePie got what he deserved. I mean, media outlets also did the wrong thing because they made him sound like a Nazi sympathizer. He wasn't. He just made a totally inappropriate joke. And I mean completely inappropriate. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that, yes, that is correct, because technically Disney was going to invite him to a show, but after that, they did not.
Right, and it's totally justified because I wouldn't want to be with or have anyone who makes jokes like that represent me as well. I mean, I have, and everyone has their own boundaries and limits for offensive humor, but in my view, there are certain lines drawn where where it's just not comedy anymore, and he crossed that line. You don't make jokes about horrific events. You don't make jokes about like rapes or stuff like that. You don't make jokes about diseases. That's like, I'm not talking about diseases like hemophilia or eczema. I mean cancer. I mean autism. I mean diabetes. I'm not talking about obesity, because obesity is something you can get past unless you're a very, very small percentage of the population where you have an eating disorder. Otherwise, obesity is a choice. Freckles are stuff that passes. Autism is not. Cancer is not. Diabetes is not. These things are not. And in my view, it's just completely insensitive to make jokes about that sort of stuff. Now, a lot of people were totally behind PewDiePie, like thinks he did nothing wrong. Heck, even PewDiePie himself admitted he did it wrong. But in my view, when you make a joke like that, you don't get forgiveness. Would you agree or would you disagree about the forgiveness aspect?
You don't make jokes like that, especially not in front of your fans.
Right. I mean, especially. No, actually, no. That is a good term to use, because I mean, in the video himself, PewDiePie, in his quote unquote apology video, he says that it was just made as a meme. Do you want to know what the definition of a meme is? Do you want to know the I'm going to read this to everybody. So I want this to be perfectly clear so everyone can hear it. An element of a culture or system of behavior that may be considered to be passed from one individual to another by what? Oh my god. Oh no. Okay, so apparently there are two definitions. I was reading the wrong one. Here's the definition I'm looking for. A humorous image, video, piece of text, etc. that is copied, often with slight variations, and spread rapidly by internet users. PewDiePie made a joke about Hitler's Holocaust. So does that count as a humorous video? I wouldn't say so.
It should be humor.
I mean,
The Holocaust was a very, very, very serious event.
Of course. I mean, and there's no denying that. I mean, obviously there are those morons called Holocaust deniers. But I mean, it happened. Like I say on the show right now that a fact is a fact only if it's a fact, but that's a fact. That not an opinion. Climate change, whether or not it's real, it's an opinion. It's a scientific opinion. We don't know if it's real or not, or we're not 100% sure. But in my view, the people who say the Holocaust isn't real have just about as much authority to speak on matters like that as the people who say that the Earth is flat. Do you see what I'm saying?
For sure.
Now, in my view, I know I'm sounding like some social justice warrior feminist, but am I saying all offensive comedy is not funny? No, not at all. I love offensive comedy, but there needs to be guidelines. Like as an example, a lot of people aren't okay with joking about obesity or like fatness or like people who are too skinny. In my view, that's a choice you make. Unless you have an eating disorder, that's a choice you make. So my view, whether or not someone is skinny or fat is actually pretty funny. I mean, like I remember this. I was watching this one stand-up comedian who went under some fire, and there's this, and like people knew that you could be insulted. It's one of those stand-up comedians where like people volunteer and they can be insulted by the comedian, and like everybody knew that coming into this deal, they would be that they could, you know, have a risk of possibly being insulted by this guy. So like one guy is like, oh, me. And the guy's like, no, I don't talk to fat pigs. Next. And like everyone started laughing, and it was clear that was a joke. But this comedian, I forgot his name, but this comedian actually went under fire for this. And like, if I mean, there's nothing wrong with that in my view. But if some people are not okay with jokes like that, then that's I mean, that's their business. But there are some times when people totally overreact to stuff that is said as a joke. Do you know about the humongous controversy? And I know I talk about this at every possible point when I can, but I love this controversy. Do you know the humongous controversy, Andrew?
Yes.
Am I the one who informed you of this?
What?
Am I the one, like, did you find out from me, or was it someone else who told you?
What? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said, am I the one who told you about humongous, or was it someone else when you first found out about it?
It was you.
Of course it was. I'm not surprised by that. Now, to those of you who don't know, and I believe this was voted in as fall 2016, not as in like autumn, not just September, but I believe it was like fall 2016's most popular meme. In my view, it should be the century's most popular meme. And that would be humongous. Now, there are some people running for city council talking about police. Seattle City Council, by the way. I'm very proud to have this guy in my state. And one of them, well, no, there are two people. I mean, there are many more, but there are two people that we're going to zero in on. Zarna Joshi and Ray Patora Jr. Zarna Joshi being just, I'm not sure if she's already a figure of relevance other than the meme point. I don't think she was elected into city council yet. Maybe she is now. I know, sadly, Ray Patora Jr. is not, but she might be. And she is, I believe she is of, no, not Asian, but of, like, half British, half, Indian, I guess. I don't know, something like that. Half Arabic, maybe, descent. The other one, Ray Patora Jr., who is a guy. I know the name is kind of weird. Yes, he is a guy. Hispanic, I believe. Maybe Latino. One of his main arguing points was on cops and drugs because his daughter was a former, and this is public information. I'm not doxing anyone. Don't worry, I don't dox people. But his daughter was a former heroin user, so he's a big proponent of the cops, and I believe the daughter is fine now, which I pray for them. And everyone else who is recovering from heroin that has been taking the right steps. But anyways, these two people, they came out, and this guy, Ray Patora Jr., he's a conservative. And that is very, very rare in Washington State. I'm talking extremely rare. So he was being interviewed by the news. And this Zarna Joshi, she's recording this entire interview. I mean, she's not the one recording, like there are cameras, like professional cameras, but she's recording this for her, I don't know, Twitter or something. I don't know what she was recording it for, maybe just for herself. And he's getting interviewed because it's very rare in Seattle to have, especially in Seattle, not just Washington State, but especially in Seattle, to have conservatives. So being interviewed, isn't this kind of risky, going for the spot of Seattle City Council as a conservative? And after the interview was done, at least she waited until the interview was done, even though she talked over it for a while. He started to go home, or he started at least to walk out. And again, she is recording him, by the way, not herself or anything. Like the camera is on him and recording, and she's aware of this. And she walks up to him, and I'm not paraphrasing here, but it was basically like, "What's your name?" She asked, "What's his name?" He replies, "You want to know my name?" She's like, "Yes, I want to know your name." He's like, "It's humongous," because he is extremely fat. And basically, one thing led to another. And by that, I mean, for some reason, she thought it was harassment, like sexual harassment. And she just freaks out. And it came to nothing because there was recording. And she said that there were like gestures or something like that. No gestures. This was posted publicly. There was no harassment whatsoever. If anything, she was harassing him. And that's the thing where people need to stop taking things out of context. Like the media, they made PewDiePie to look out like some Nazi sympathizer. He's not a Nazi sympathizer. He's just an idiot for doing what he did. And this is the problem, context. Because whether or not someone is right or wrong, even if both parties are wrong, one party can prevent the other party from being wrong simply by putting things in context. Sorry, what?
I want to get something really clear.
Sure.
And this is for a lot of people, and I hope they hear me. And this isn't exactly for everyone, but it's a message that should go out.
Is this related to the topic?
Somewhat. Nazi related. Video related.
Okay.
So the other day I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, and his name is Stampy Longnose. He's a Minecraft YouTuber that a lot of people watch already.
Yeah.
Well, he made a mini game like he usually does. And the thing about this was, the mini game was, as people say, was in the shape of the Holocaust symbol.
You mean?
But the thing in this context is, I think people were getting it out of context. But Stampy is a child YouTuber. He makes videos so children could watch it and have fun and have building ideas.
Wait, do you mean it's not the Holocaust symbol, it's the Nazi symbol? Do you mean the swastika?
Yeah, the swastika.
Well, I mean, I'd have to watch the video for myself. Like, if it's an exact...
Not exactly that. It's, maybe it is a swastika. It's not the star.
The star is Soviet Union. That's not even Germany. The black star on red, or red star on black, that's Soviet Union.
Yeah,
Do you mean like the
Hold
symbol?
on. I'm going to send you a screenshot of the video. What's it called? The heading, what's it called?
Like the heading of the video? Sure. We'll extend it by a minute, but please try to be quick since we're running low on time on this segment. And our next segment is going to be Trolls. Not the movie with what's his face, Justin Timberlake. I'm talking internet and real life trolls who are just horrible people, just really bad people. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm gonna look at this picture. I'm gonna see how much it looks like, and you guys can do your own digging. And if Andrew's okay with it, I'm gonna talk with him after the show is over. I'm gonna release that picture publicly, like, so people can make their own assumptions and judgments about how much it looks like one.
This is real stuff. I don't think people should have said that about him in a way.
Sorry, what?
I don't think people should have been like, oh, you're supporting Hitler and all that crap when Hitler's dead.
Well, no. Well, they're still neo-Nazis. I mean, if it looks like a swastika, like exactly like a swastika, and I mean exactly like a swastika, not just kind of a little bit like same, whatever, like it has one leg or something like that, and you know, nothing like that. Like if it has exactly the same shape as a swastika, then it's gonna be a swastika, and that Stampy's either a moron or a Nazi sympathizer. But I'm gonna see the picture for myself and make my own judgment in just a second here.
I'm trying to send it to you, but something's up with my phone, so I'm gonna try to fix this. Hold on.
All right. In the meantime, you're gonna send it to me, and I'm gonna talk about this while I'm talking about my troll face to see whether Stampy is the idiot or whether everyone else is the idiot. But in the meantime, I'm gonna kind of.
Everyone else is the idiot here.
Well, I'm going to make that my own assumption in just a second here, but I'm happy to have your opinion. That's the point of this show. The point of this show is everyone, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone should call in with their opinion. And if you want to call in but you don't have the number, don't worry, I got your back. The number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the PIN 24777. Ironically enough, even though that section was about comedy, it wasn't very funny, but I just wanted to get something clear. And that applies to anyone who would like to call into the show. If you're planning on making any PewDiePie-esque jokes, please leave your insane, inept, racist comments elsewhere. And by elsewhere, I mean nowhere, because no one wants that. Meanwhile, we're moving on to our next segment now, which is trolls. And a fantastic story to start this off with, while Andrew gets this to me, is my Hawker's Memoir story. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've recently, on June 29th, so a little under a month ago, for me that's recently, I published the Hawker's Memoirs Book 1, The Ghost of Nothing, which you can find on Amazon right now. I'll be leaving a link to it. Now, to those of you who would like to go look at it, you will be seeing a 1-star review, which I'm doing everything in my power to get off. I'm going to get in contact with Amazon customer service. Now, it might sound like I'm the troll here because I'm trying to like silence the bad review, but hear me out. I'm about to go look up this review because I want to paraphrase it. I want to make sure that everyone hears this. 1-star review on Hawker's Memoirs, Ghost of Nothing. And by the way, this review was not left by a verified buyer, and there's no way to get this review other than there's no way to get this book other than here, since I don't have a publisher and I'm not doing anything like on paperback. The only way to get this is directly on Amazon through me. That's the only way I'm selling it. One 1-star review so far. Again, not a verified buyer. And by the way, this is by an anonymous person. It says Amazon customer. The title of this review is Don't Get. It is a 2-sentence review, but whatever. You know, you think, well, the 2-sentence could say, very bad book overall. I like nothing about it. I recommend this to no one. That's not what it says. I want everyone to make sure, because I'm not going to get this wrong. The first sentence reads, and I quote, Amazon did not let me get this book because he had it. And I did not cut off any words. The first sentence ended with the word had. Amazon did not let me get this book because he had. And the next sentence is, more hard copies. So if I could, I would give it 0 stars. What does that mean? And there was actually one guy, some German guy, harassing me on Google Plus, who I recently blocked. Well, not recently, but right before I published this book, like I blocked him a day or something because he was just leaving these unbelievably stupid comments. So it's probably him, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm still trying to get it off, though. But what does this mean? Amazon did not let me get this book because he had. More hard copies. So if I could, I would give it 0 stars. If he left no review, I would leave this review up. I would totally leave it up. I'd try to improve in the future. I'd try to get in contact with guys, ask him what he did not like, and I'd try to do better in the future. And if it was a genuine review, I'd read that and I would do nothing about this. This is not a real review. This is trolling. This is spamming. This is whatever you want to call it. This is that. And that's the thing that just makes me so mad is when hard work is just completely dissed like this without cost. There's no reason to do this. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to hang up and try to send it to you. Maybe it's because I'm on the phone, but I'll call you right back.
All right, sounds great. We're gonna be having Andrew back in a second here. Meanwhile, if we have anyone else who would like to call in, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Now back to the topic at hand. And this just made me so unbelievably mad. And because this was the book I worked hardest on. And the picture, actually, no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, people are looking too much into it. I mean, all right, good to have you back. Good to have you back, Andrew. I'm looking at your picture right now. Is it okay if I post this picture publicly and ask for people's opinions on this?
Yeah, try not to get it to try to pin Stampy, even though he probably won't respond or anything. Just pin him just to have his credit there.
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. Unless he admits to anything, I think it's a deal because, I mean, look at the patterns inside. The swastika had specific patterns inside of it, or I guess no patterns. I mean, it was just one line. This has all kinds of weird little loops and holes. People are looking too much into this. Yeah, people are looking too much into this. This has all kinds of weird, intricate designs. The swastika was much more basic. And besides, I mean,
people were making stupid comments like, I'm not gonna play this game because I'm Jewish.
And at any point in the video did he mention this?
Not at all.
Not even in the slightest.
Not even in the slightest. He didn't mention anything about Hitler or swastika or Holocaust. He didn't mention any of that in the video.
Well, in that case, then once again, it's trolls. It's people trying to take him down, and this guy trying to take me down. Because I mean, obviously, if you go into Amazon and look at the review on Hawker's memoirs, you'll see that it's garbage and that it's fake. But come on, how many times when you see a 1, 2, or even 3-star book, you're gonna just scroll by it? And even if that's not the case with most of you, I mean, that's the case with me. But even if that's not the case with most of you, people are still going. I mean, it's automatically lower in the search because of its bad review, and it would be doing better with no review. And that's the thing that makes me so mad. And by the way, speaking of Hawker's memoirs, we have our one and only charity donator to my charity event for Hawker's memoirs here. So quick, make sure to go follow Andrew on Google Plus. I'm gonna it's Andrew Walker. It's pretty much it. He has a profile picture of art. Kind of it, really. It's not that complicated. Yeah, make sure to go follow him out. He's a fantastic guy. And Andrew, thank you once again for joining me.
Of course, anything for my pal.
Thank you very much. And if you guys personally do not like to call in, well, tell your friends and family so they can call in. But yeah, this picture, I mean, people are just digging. I see the similarities, but it's just not enough. PewDiePie came right out and said it. There's no mistaking what PewDiePie did. This is nothing. This is just garbage. I mean, one of the things that started the whole YouTube adpocalypse, which by the way, I'm thinking of having another segment on YouTube coming up. So if you'd like to see that, let me know. One of the things that started the whole YouTube adpocalypse is the fact that like this one, well, other than the Minecraft animation that had the word weed in it. Other than that, there was also, I think, either the first or second video that kind of took this thing off was the video called the Jew World Order, like the New World Order, but replaced with the Jew. It was like some KKK propaganda, and it had monetization on. So like one of the companies left YouTube completely because of this, because they didn't want to be represented by this, or at least they pulled their ads from pretty much every video. And that's the thing. Trolls are killing everybody, including themselves. And be it one review on Hawker's memoirs or vastly hurting an entire media site on the internet. I mean, these trolls, there are no upsides to them. Do you see what I'm saying? Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, you kind of phased out for a second there. But I mean, and that's the thing too, like in my view, the whole privacy thing is a non-issue. Like, I mean, obviously I'm not saying like whatever, like a camera in your toilet or something like that. But I mean like the privacy online. If you have nothing to hide, why do you need privacy? That's my question. I mean, I understand not revealing your social security, your address to like freaks, but why do you need protection from the government if you have nothing to hide? Do you agree or disagree with that one, Andrew?
I agree.
You've shown your face publicly online. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you shown your address publicly online?
No.
Exactly. And in my view, people should do that. Like, I mean, there's no reason. No one's going to find you by your face. No one is going to find you by your face. I mean, absolute worst case scenario, someone will recognize you in real life from online. And maybe they'll walk up to you and say, hey, you're X person. Would you, and you know, heck, maybe you'll make a friend. Like, that's the absolute worst case scenario from posting your face online. But I totally understand, like not posting phone number, not posting email, social security. I understand all that stuff. Like, I mean, come on, do you think this is my real phone number? This and to remind people of what my not real phone number is, if they'd like to call in and talk on the show with Andrew and I, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. But yeah, I mean, trolls are killing the internet. I mean, there's no better way to put it. I don't like to dance around words. If you're a troll, you're trash as a person. I'm gonna say it, and I don't mean like killing. Oh, haha! You know, you're gonna sit in the corner and see us go and you know, shoot some guy when he spawns. I don't mean that. I mean when you spam people and harass people, like I was harassed like with the stupid Hawker's Memoirs thing, and like how what's his face, Stampy, how Stampy is getting harassed right now. If you do stuff like that without knowing it, or if you do know it and you're just slandering the person, which is, by the way, a crime for anybody who would like to know. Slander is a crime. If you know something is false and you're still saying it about the person, that's slander and that's a crime. You could go to jail for that. And I mean, these people, they're just horrible people. Anyways, Andrew, if you'd like, you can stay, or you don't have to stay. It's totally your call. You've been staying with me for a long time. It's totally your call. That's not funny. But you've been staying with me for a while. I greatly appreciate it. If you'd like, you can stay in for this final segment of the show, which we're about to get into. But I'm just going to finish up trolls, and then we're going to get into our final segment of the show. And for anyone who would like to know, that is technology. We're going to be talking about the evolution of technology over time, our recent jump in technology, and how it might affect us come the future, and what will happen to the human race. More of a philosophical talk more than anything else. And personally, I'd love to have Allison call into the show again. Actually, I would have loved Allison to call in during my first section about Trump's wall, since I know we don't exactly align politically. That would be even better. So Allison, if you're watching, next time I have a political discussion, I will specifically invite you, because I've still not talked about politics, at least major politics, with someone with a very different opinion on the show, and I'd love to do that. Because Andrew, you're not the most political guy, but we're pretty on the same page. Would you say that? Would you say that, Andrew?
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways, 16 minutes till the hour. And once again, after this, I'm going to be having a Super Smash Bros. Live stream. I'm going to be playing as Sheik from 5:30 to 5:55 Pacific time, which is only half an hour after the show ends, on my Instagram Live, which is Ben_Moskalensky. Once again, Ben_Moskalensky. Anyways, we're going to start this next section of a bit early, like a couple seconds early, because who cares if it's a couple seconds early? I mean, no one will care, you know? I mean, it's a couple minutes, a couple seconds. I'm sure the entirety of planet Earth will not die. Do you see my point? Anyways, since Andrew has been eaten alive by dogs, let's move on to our final section. I just hear Hunger Games going on back there, so I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to assume.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Alrighty. If you'd like, you can hang up or not. We can listen to the pleasant sounds of dogs barking. Anyways, while Andrew is off dealing with his hyenas, let's move into our final section, which is going to be once again technology. And if you'd like to participate in that, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. Once again, the number is 719-284-5873 with the pin 24777. And actually, we're right on time. I thought we'd be a bit early. No, we're right on time. So my first question before we get into the future, what the heck has been happening the last 100 years? I mean, geez, we've always had technological advancements ever since the Neanderthals all the way to Napoleon and so on. But I mean, come on. What has been happening since the Industrial Revolution? And it's only been getting steeper since. I mean, in the 1910s, 1920s, we had, well, let's just say 1910s to 1930s, we had our industrial revolutions where factories started coming in, and a lot more stuff became automated, where we needed less farmers and the cities grew in a massive percent of the population. Then we had boom, the 40s and 50s and stuff, where we had nuclear weapons, and the wars really started getting intense, starting with World War II and so on, moving on to Korea as well. And we've also started developing like phones, and we've improved on the basic technologies we've already had. Jump from 60s to 80s, we have all kinds of like missiles and nukes, and pretty much every country has it. We're developing all kinds of new stuff. We got computers, we got Bill Gates, we got Steve Jobs, we got all this stuff, including handheld phones. Jump into the 90s through 2001 or 2010s. What do we have now? We got robots, we got AI, we're in Back to the Future, baby. Do you see what I'm saying, Andrew? I guess he doesn't see what I'm saying. Well, he's probably left the call, but
No, I'm still here.
Oh, have you been listening?
Sorry about that.
Have you been listening?
Yeah, very little low.
Well, basically, to summarize for everyone.
I probably like to slap my dog to a pulp because I'm mad at them for barking.
Well, to summarize for you and everyone else who didn't like my overexcited Industrial Revolution voice, basically, for the last 100 years, we've had unbelievable advancements from the Industrial Revolution to right now, and it's only been getting steeper. If you talk to someone, not even 100 years ago, but 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, the concept of AI, which we now have, by the way, like CPUs, even in stuff as basic as Smash Bros, like video games and stuff, which is already unbelievably advanced in how you can fine tune it, and how like chess computers can beat some of the finest players of chess in the world. Just computers. They'd say that you're absolutely insane. They'd say that you're crazy, and that won't happen for probably the next 5,000, 10,000 years or something. But here we are. We have AI, and although AI is nowhere near as smart as us, and I mean nowhere near, it is also infinitely smarter. I'm not talking about stuff like calculators. Anyone can do. That's been a feature for a long time. But like the ability to run software far superior to humans and incorporate that into a physical body is just unreal. Which will then, of course, be robots. Sorry, what?
I said indeed.
And then of course, once they get a bearing on physical stuff, then that will be the lead of robots. But do you want to know why we have technology currently? Do you want to know why technology will never beat out humans, at least not as we know it now? Do you know it? Do you know the answer to that question?
No, no.
Well, I mean, think about it. The AI has all the weapons and stuff, or at least it could have. They can hack, it can do all that stuff, but it doesn't know what to do with it. It has all. It's like a baby with nukes, with all the nukes in the world. It doesn't know what to do with it. It's not smart enough. It doesn't have common sense. It doesn't know about conquering or killing. I mean, AI right now it can only do very basic things. Um, and that's the thing right now, because AI. I mean, you read a book like Prey, it terrifies you. And if you guys are looking for another good read, I know I've been full of books today, but Prey, fantastic book, from Michael Crichton, who, Jurassic Park guy. So it can't be bad. Um, but yeah, Prey. I'm about a quarter into it, loving it so far. It gets better the more you read. Um, but basically, Prey is about nanotechnology. Like, it's smart enough to go into your system and fix up your problems, but it's also smart enough to go into you and, spoiler alert, kill you. And it's basically like trying to take over. Kind of, to summarize. Kind of. It's complicated. Um, but my point is, AI nowadays cannot do that because, I mean, they can physically do it. Once we put AI into a body like en masse, I don't mean like Super Smash Bros. AI. I'm talking you get like a body, like a robo body or something like that for them. Sure, they can take over, but they don't know what to do. They don't have basic instincts. They don't have a purpose. And I'm not going to go into some philosophical deal like, well, none of us have a purpose if you really think about it. I'm not gonna get into that because A, that's boring. B, it's depressing. And C, that's not the topic of today's show. And D, it would take way too long to talk about that, and we only have 9 minutes left. And of course, I can't go over everything that this topic has to offer because we have 9 minutes. Do you think I can summarize future technology in 9 minutes? I mean, if anyone can do it, I can't. I phrased that wrong. What I meant to say is, if anyone can do it, I'm not one of the people who can do it. But with this spike in technology, who knows? Maybe 50 years from now, maybe sooner, maybe robots will rule the planet. Can you imagine that, Andrew?
Oh, geez, please don't let that happen.
We're all gonna look like the people from Wall-E, you know? I mean, I already look like the captain from Wall-E with my very healthy eating style. I'm already looking like one of the.
Don't say that, man.
You look at pictures of me; it's not healthy. But I mean, we're getting to the point like Wall-E. It takes place. Was it 700 or 7,000 years after? I know it's kind of weird that I'm quoting a cartoon, but still, is it 700 or 7,000 years after Earth is irradiated? Andrew, is it? I'm just not sure, but either way, I mean, 700 or 7,000. Let's say 700 for convenience's sake. We could have that way sooner. I mean, robots. Our technological understanding ever since the last century has been spiking like crazy, and the rates have only been going up since then. I mean, we've never had a technological spike like this throughout the history of the human race, which has been thousands and thousands of years in the making now. But then again, the Neanderthals started it all, and it went from Egyptians, and then the Romans and the Greeks, then to the Europeans, and now we're all our own different thing. But then again, I can't really imagine dinosaurs on the iPhone. I mean, maybe we were meant to survive. Like, that's because dinosaurs were around way longer than us, but we've made so many more advancements. And I can't particularly imagine a T-Rex and a Velociraptor playing whatever tennis. I mean, maybe on Tina Rex or something, one of the best animes of all time, but otherwise, not happening. So, yeah, it's kind of scary where it's going, but I honestly don't think anything like that will even be a threat in our lifetime, because, I mean, have you seen anything recently that has really scared you, like how advanced our technology is, Andrew? What?
Disneyland animatronics nowadays are getting extremely scarily realistic.
We already have great graphics, though. I don't think the entirety of planet Earth is about to turn into Five Nights at Freddy's sister location too.
But this is what I'm talking about. The and the new land they made, Animal Kingdom, is the Avatar land. They made a ride, and in that ride, there's a very important animatronic, but its movements are extremely human-like.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, if the AI is smart enough to go undercover as a human, like let's say like it develops, like the AI develops to the point where we don't know it's developing. Maybe right now there's some sort of an AI that is smart enough to be a human, like it understands humanity, it just doesn't have a body yet. That's terrifying. Because I mean, a mind like an AI, like a perfectly precise computer mind, that could take over the planet. I mean,
Indeed.
that could take over the planet. It would be so much stronger than us, so much faster than us, so much smarter than us, and it would be superior in every way if it would get a body. And that's one of the things that scares me. Like, I mean, some people argue we should stop making technological advancements, but in my view, they should make some sort of. I mean, I don't know anything about programming. Like, I barely know how to say hello world. And even that I've almost forgotten at this point. So like I'm no pro, but they need to make some sort of like a trigger where the AI and all of its links automatically shut down. Like everything that the AI is linked to automatically shuts down if it gets to a certain point in the code where the code starts getting deleted. Like if any safeguards start going down, the rest of the safeguards are just like shut down, shut down, shut down. And that's the only way we can keep it safe, as far as I know, if the AI can't get around it. Because if we put our full trust into AI, eventually the AI is going to study our patterns enough, look at our history enough, and become smart enough to overtake us. And that's terrifying. I mean, it's great to read about, great to think about, and great to talk about for the next 3 minutes on this show, but terrifying to think about. Or terrifying if it would happen. No, I'm not gonna do like the creepy Jeopardy music. But anyways, do you think AI will ever be smart enough to imitate a human in our lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it'll be like within the next 20 years? That's an interesting one, isn't it? Do you think?
Very interesting.
Isn't that an interesting one? I've asked this question to a lot of people while I was undergoing this one, and a lot of people thought this was a great question and a great way to end off the show. So that's my question to everybody watching, who's roughly our age, assuming you're not watching this with your entire family, including your mom and dad and grandparents, possibly, and siblings. If you're around our age, by the time you're, whatever, let's say 30, by the time you are 30, or by the time, let's say, your children are our age, will we have an AI that is at least mentally smart enough to imitate a human? That's a really great one. Anyways, I believe I'm just going to go through the outro phases right now. Andrew, I would like to thank you once again very much for joining me. All these links I've been talking about will be featured in the description of this video and on SoundCloud, whenever I finally get around to posting these on SoundCloud at least. And again, Andrew, looking forward to more calls from you in the future. Looking forward to all of your calls in the future. Just not all at once. Definitely not all at once. A maximum of 3 at once, please. No more, or I'm going to start booting people. But yeah, I really definitely enjoyed doing this with you. I enjoy these shows in general. It's always such a fantastic talking experience. And please, if you can't call in live to the show when it's live, like let's say you live in some different time zone or something, leave your comments on your thoughts. Tell me, like, did you think
Time zones are exactly the same?
Right. I mean, you live in Vegas. I live in Washington State. But, someone might live in let's say Israel, and right now it's 1 a.m. for them, I think, or 3 a.m. for them, something like that. And unless you're insane, you probably won't be calling into the show. But still, I'd love to comment and listen to your thoughts. I'm going to be taking suggestions for the next show, of course, as always. And next time it'll be normal. It'll be the normal 1 hour, and my throat won't be as hurting as much as it is now. And I still have to do my 5:30 to 5:55 after this. But I'm going to enjoy doing that because at least I'm going to get a break. But still, even though I sound moody and mad and tired, I love doing this. So thank you, everybody, so much for joining me. Looking forward to seeing you all in the next Ben Moskalensky show. Once again, I think I'm going to start using this as my catchphrase. A fact is only a fact if it's a fact. And you can get the facts on the Ben Moskalensky.